Hey everyone, welcome. So I just came across the Deloitte AI mess. Basically, they had a $440,000 report that they did, and they were caught using AI in a really bad way. Meaning, I promote the use of AI the right way, and I'm going to make a case study about this. And the point of this is to just shine a light on Deloitte, and that's a big concern that we have for students of just how they're using it. With a lack of oversight and how Deloitte has done that, but also how we maybe could apply this very quickly into a teaching case or a case in some way and sort of show that process. So I don't know how long this will be. It's unscripted. I know what I'm going to do. I have a couple tools we'll do. And then the goal is to at least get to a written case that covers at least the presented facts of what this is. And go from there. So think of it more as a library case or a secondary research case versus a primary research case with a protagonist that we know. So with all of that being said, let's go to the video. So one of the key things we can do in the world of AI right now is we can get a transcript. So one of the key things with a transcript is if we go to a video that exists and there is a transcript, so let's say show a transcript, all we have to do is just copy and paste and get the transcript. That's one thing, okay? Copying it that way. Another way is to drop the video link into NotebookLM. And the whole point of doing this is to get the words. So once we get the story and the words, we can then use AI to craft a case based off of a structure, based off of what we want. So I'm gonna see if this is the video I want first. All right, because this is the one I saw, this is the one I want. So what I'm going to do is go here to transcript. Now there's two ways to get this. One, you can just literally drag and drop and you get the text, which is what I'm looking for. And then basically we can drop in the ChatGPT or Claude and say, here's the text. I have a bit of a different way to do that first. I'm just going to drop it in as a new conversation, drop it into the chat and just say, here is the trend. Actually, I'm going to say it, keep it easier. Then it becomes our prompt. Here's the transcript for a YouTube video on a topic on Deloitte using AI for a report and how they had no oversight and made some problems during that. And I want to take this transcript and build the structure of a script for a case study and go from there. And I'm going to say, here's the transcript, paste, and just hit enter. And we'll see what ChatGPT does in the meantime. But now I'm going to go to NotebookLM. And basically go NotebookLM, try a new notebook, and then I'm going to go back here, create a notebook, and I'm going to put in this YouTube link because what NotebookLM is doing is it's not transcribing the video. It's taking the text, if there's a text. So let's just say you have a video and you want you want the text from it and you want to work through it. Well, if you give the video for NotebookLM, the link won't work. It will say that it doesn't work because in order for this link to work, in order for NotebookLM to get the text, it takes the transcript from it. At least that's my understanding. So what's happening is it's taking and it's actually just gone through and taken the transcript. So here is the same transcript from it. But we can actually talk to it now and basically talk to it like a researcher, which is a super cool concept. I'm going to go back here and just grab all of the text, or I can say actually, let me take a step back here. Wow, the ability of technology and things we have. If my goal is to write a case study, the first thing we have to understand is who's the case study for, what's the structure, what's the format, how in depth, how many resources, what's the quality of writing, what kind of quality of writing can we do, how authentic to the real content can we do. So those are all things that are swirling in my brain. And my brain as an educator, in this context, I'm not looking to publish this case at all. That's not the end result. The result of this, in my idea right now, is to create a case that my students could use. We could talk through it in class, that it's applicable to right now, which means it may not be the same format or the same due diligence and structure as a case we would do for publishing and thinking through that. AI in this scenario is a tool that's going to help me connect the dots of this story, help me structure a case that makes sense for one we can follow, and help me present the content more expediently than I could do on my own. Now, I could do all of this on my own. I could write a case, get the story, develop it on my own. We have that same skill set, but I can do it more expediently and more clearly and more aligned to my course by using AI. And my game plan was to use ChatGPT and to show you how you could take a video and the transcript if you wanted, and then start to craft a case from that. But I got derailed because NotebookLM was one way I was going to get the transcript, which then gets the context for the case. But while being in NotebookLM, I was like, oh, I could also use the features of NotebookLM. So for example, I could actually do video overview, and it's going to create a video overview. Now we're at the mercy of NotebookLM's understanding of this, which will be very good, and even how it presents the content, or how it presents the transcript from the video about Deloitte. You could also do reports on this. So you could also create flashcards and mind maps. The point behind those other tools in my mind right now is that the goal is to create the content around the case so I can write the case effectively. That's an important thing. And I say write, meaning allowing AI to help me create that and write it together with my oversight, my understanding, my human validation and vetting, which is not what Deloitte did, which is part of this whole point of, can I show this? As I ramble on, my apologies. So one thing is we can use NotebookLM to get the transcript or the reading. We could actually go to YouTube like I did a moment ago and just go back here and just actually drag and drop the transcript and grab it. But the point is we want the transcript because that is the story. If we wanted the story to be more aligned and to be more rich, we would want to look for news articles, anything online about this that has been written about this with the facts of this, or even getting the real report would be amazing. But those are different artifacts we can pull in to bring context. How am I viewing this right now? What is the playbook in my head that I'm now describing aspects of it for you? The playbook for writing a case study and utilizing AI in aspects of that is very much around saying, what's the end goal? Where do I want to be? And then sort of working backwards and saying, well, I want to have a case I can print and give to my students in this scenario. Well, in order to have a case, I first have to know what would be in the case. And in order to have knowledge of what's going to be in the case, I have to have an understanding of what exists currently of the knowledge base that I can pull from. And that pulling from is the context I would give AI in my prompt. So we just worked backwards, and basically we're at a point now where we're trying to build the context to give the AI so I can say, hey, here's the context of the case I want. Here's the scenario. And then giving it a bunch of more prompts to then basically have it write the first draft of the case, which we would then read, we would then vet, we would then check, knowing that it's not meant to be a publishable case. So if you're sitting there arguing your brain saying, Matt, it's not a real case. No, it's a real case about a real problem. Yes, it is one that is not going to be a publishable case per se in this format. The intent, though, is not publication. The intent is application, content, talking through this with my students and navigating through ways we could apply ethics in our class and say, what should they have done? What could they have done? How do we approach this to have a dialogue together? So we have NotebookLM creating a video right now. We have the text, which is great. We have, the drag and drop the text from the video, the YouTube video. And what ChatGPT has done is I basically said, here is the transcript for the video. Here's a transcript for the YouTube video on a topic being Deloitte and their oversight. I said, I want to take this transcript and build a structured script for a case study and go from there. So I just pasted it in and it now has this structure. I'm going to go through and vet this, but it's taking information about this. So I'm just going to, for the sake of efficiency and time, pretend that, yes, this makes sense. I've vetted this. I've checked this. This is correct. Excellent. And then what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go back to a tool. So we now have the context of what we want to write the case about. Okay, important concept here. We have the context, which means we have the understanding, the facts of what we want in this scenario. Okay. Now, how do we get this and get something meaningful from it? Well, I'm not going to say ChatGPT write a case study for me. It would actually take a fair bit of work because this is important context here. Yes, we have context about the topic of the case, but ChatGPT doesn't know what a case means to me. It doesn't know the structure I want for a case. It doesn't know the length. It doesn't know the exhibits, if there are any. It doesn't know the type of writing. It doesn't know the type of story. It doesn't understand what I'm thinking of in context to what it knows. It doesn't know that yet. I haven't told it that yet. So we have to think, how do we have this tool write something of value for us right away? Well, there's a tool I created called on teachingwithcases.com. And what it does is it basically, actually go teaching with cases, and there's a prompt generator. And that prompt generator is designed to help you clarify your communication with AI. It creates a prompt. It generates a prompt. So what we see here is the prompt generator, and it's a tool that I built literally 2.5 years ago, and it has been small tweaks, but it takes your ideas, 3 or 4 ideas, and then it puts it into a very extensive prompt or a set of instructions for any AI tool. So it creates a prompt that is about 2,000 to 3,000 words. Crazy, I know. But it works very, very, very well. So first thing it says, what is the category of the case? So you think of what's the main theme. So I have a bunch of themes here. They may not actually fit. And this is where I can improve the tool. But I'm going to choose the theme of ethics. And then it says, what's your topic about? Now, this is an important thing. Because we did a context from ChatGPT already, we can actually grab this, just grab it. We can actually just copy and paste it, which is what I'm doing. Go back here and just paste it in. Just Command V, paste it. Now, we don't see all of it, but all of that text we just had is pasted in that piece of the prompt. And then it says, what type of case is it? And this is where the idea is, well, what kind of case? Well, I've got 4 formats here: business case, general information, research, personal account. This is going to be a general information case, and we're going to focus on research, legal consultation, inquiries. We'll do that one. And the last part is put in your email address and you're good to go. So now the tool, what it does is it creates a prompt. This does not use AI. This just takes everything you put into it and puts it into a template. And if I scroll down here, this top piece talks about it. And if you see here, this is the prompt. And I made it very simple. All you have to do is click copy to clipboard. And this is the prompt. I'm going to scroll down. This is going to be, keep scrolling. This is the whole prompt. Why is this prompt long? Well, let me go here and see how many words it is for a quick second. I'm just going to paste it into another tool I have that tells me how many words. Don't worry about the analysis. We want to say, how many words is it? So it's approximately 4,600 words. Wow, it's a long prompt. All right, so you go back here to ChatGPT, and all we're going to do is paste that prompt. That whole prompt, we're going to paste it in. And ChatGPT will write a case. Now I'm going to do this with ChatGPT, and I'm also going to do it with Claude, because I have found Claude, in my argument, is a better writer. At the current point right now, Claude's a better writer. So that's just what I've seen and thought. So I'm going to paste this in and let Claude go writing. Now ChatGPT is writing currently. It's creating a case scenario based on what I gave it, and the same thing for Claude. It's going through and it's writing a case around the controversy based off of Deloitte. So what is happening? And here you go. ChatGPT is starting. So is awesome. So perfect. So we'd have to read through this, obviously. Why is it writing a case for us? And why is this structure in the narrative format? And why is this structure covering data from the case? Why is this talking about introduction and background and so on? Why is it writing something of potential meaning and value for us? That's what the prompt is designed to do. Because one of the key things I've realized and learned in the hundreds of thousands of interactions with ChatGPT, literally, like it's so much, is that the more clear direction currently with cases, the better it is. And in this prompt, as I scroll up and it keeps writing the case, in this prompt, what is being done is a series of instructions that clarify aspects of case writing that we take for granted. So it talks about structure, it talks about the context, it talks about the content, it talks about the intent of the case, it talks about the approximate length of the case. And this, you notice here, for example, it says, you are the best and most detailed case study writer in the world who will take this information and write a complete, long and detailed case based on this information with the category and topic. Okay. To create case studies, you need to follow a series of steps. This is a piece of my template. If you notice here where it says, here's the process. Here's the detailed process. 1, understand the case. So that's the first thing the AI is told to do. First, understand what kind of case study you want to generate. This might include And then it basically, here is the text that we pasted in. Here's what we took originally from ChatGPT. All of this text is the context for the case. And then it continues. Oh my goodness, it continues. But what's happening is that context that we did initially with the transcript to go to ChatGPT that builds an understanding of the topic now becomes context for our prompt. Why are we doing this? You can do it one prompt at a time, saying, I want to build a case study about this topic, about this, and you'll have a lot of iterative engineering back and forth through prompting. This prompt here is very long, but it's done with intent so that you have a really intent, meaningful, and valuable case from this instantly. So this is what Claude has written, and it has written a very long case that is based off of the video, and it's still writing right now. It's crazy. ChatGPT, what are you still doing? Are you still writing? Are you still writing my case? As I scroll down, and there's a bunch of details and facts in here, and that is something that we are going to figure out. Okay, something went wrong. So ChatGPT had an error. Okay, well, we're going to rewrite this and see what it does. And Claude is still writing, and it's adding stuff in, and it finally gets to a conclusion. And before we even, okay, the message continue. We don't want to lose all this. This is very good. It's continuing. Okay, awesome. So let's stand sort of where we're at right now. So what is this? This is a case, a scenario that has been written by Claude based off of context about a problem that Deloitte had using AI and not doing it well. So where do we stand and what do we have to do? The first thing is how true or what facts do we have to make sure are true for our students to understand? And we would want to read through that. I'm going to copy this and bring up a Word document so I can at least copy it. And I've got a copy of it because I don't want to lose this right now. I'm just going to paste it in. Now I've got a copy and I'm just going to go save as, and I'm going to save it and make sure I've got this all set. Perfect. So now I got a copy of this case that AI has written, but it's not about a fake topic. It's about a real topic. It's about a real thing that has just happened. Or at least the publishing of this has just happened. And as I scroll up here, this is a 5,400 word case, 12 pages in this. So we got a lot of stuff to think through here, but we have an amazing template, amazing starting point. So the first thing I would do is say, how long do I want this to be? Is this too long? Is this a case that fits what I'm looking for? Well, it's easier to cut the case back than have it rewrite it. And it's easier to have more than refine, to have less. It's easier to reduce than to add. Just like a photo, the concept of a picture. So if you have a photo, it's easier to reduce or crop the image without losing quality than expand it with what doesn't exist in data. Meaning if you have a picture that's a finite size, but you want to expand it, it's going to get pixelated typically. It's going to, because the information doesn't exist to expand it. Whereas if you have an image and you want to crop it down, you're not adding data that doesn't exist, you're cutting back the current data, which means you won't lose resolution. The same thing for a case. It's better to have more and then cut it back than have less and add more to it. That's my argument, my thought on that. But one thing we don't know is, in this case that has just been written, how authentic is it? How accurate is it? Are there any facts in here that are not true to the reporting in the video? Are there any things that have been made up or liberties that the AI has taken that we need to be aware of? And that comes through our analysis. So the first thing would be to read through this case and understand what the case is about and how it works. And then say, okay, does this type of case fit what I'm looking for? Then go back and say, okay, now what facts are in here that are not in the video transcript? What facts are assumed that AI has filled in the gaps with? And that's something we'd want to figure out. But for this, I want to go back here to ChatGPT and see what it has done. It has written a case as well, and it's less length, but it may fit more in line with what we're looking for. So I'm going to scroll down here and just copy it, go back here. I'm going to create another example. We're going to save as case 2, and I'm going to hit save. Go back and paste this in, and now we've got 2 cases. So this case, so the case from Claude was 5,400 words. The case from ChatGPT was 3,100 words, which is still a long case. One is 12 pages, one is 7 pages. But if the content's not real, if it doesn't align with our course, if it doesn't make sense, it is meaningless to have any case of any length. So what we need to do is to vet it and check it to make sure that these cases actually make sense to what we are trying to do. So how do we do that? Well, we've done some writing, meaning we have gotten an example of a case. These are 2 cases that are written about this topic on Deloitte and the AI scandal that has happened with them. This is from secondary research, not primary, but it's based off of the reporting in the video, which means the quality of the case, the authenticity of the case is limited by the starting point of the data, which means it's limited by the quality of reporting and content in the video that can be reported and talked about. So let's go through and say, what we're going to do now is use ChatGPT is really good for analysis. We're going to put both of these back into ChatGPT, and we're going to put the transcript back in and say, ChatGPT, based off of the transcript and these 2 versions of cases, which one is more authentic and true to the originality or the original facts of the transcript? Why are we doing this? If I'm going to give my students something, yes, I want it to be a current topic that we can do. But I want to make sure that topic makes sense. There's no lies, there's no falsities. And we don't want to do the same thing, the essence of what I want to teach them that Deloitte did. I want them to have oversight. I want to make sure we have oversight in this case, oversight in the data in it. Just because AI has put the pieces together doesn't mean it's not true. The starting point of the data came from true data, true information. I just didn't type it out in my brain, but AI made the connections and put it together. What we're doing now is we're going through and checking and doing oversight on that. Okay, that's what we're doing right now. So let's actually go through and put both of these back in and then do some analysis on them. So I'm going to go back here to, where is this? Go back here to our transcript. I'm going to create a new chat. I need some help. I'm just going to describe it. Hey, can you help me? I need some help. What I'm going to do is give you a transcript of a case or a scenario that's happened about Deloitte and an AI scandal and oversight, and that came from a YouTube video. And this transcript is, or at least the DNA of the facts from that video. I'm going to give you the transcript, and then I have 2 different cases, and I want you to analyze which case is more true to the actual events in the actual YouTube video about the actual scandal. So I'm going to paste in the transcript, and now here are the cases. And I'm just going to drag and drop both cases, and I'm going to hit analyze or hit enter, analyze. So it's going through and doing some analysis on it. And the level of analysis is limited by how what I asked ChatGPT to do. Meaning if I wanted statistical analysis or sentiment analysis or factual data, like I've got to go through and saying, okay, well, which one actually reflects the case better? So case 1, so case 1 is the Claude case. Case 2 is the ChatGPT case. I think that's what it is. Yes. So case 1 is Claude. Case 2 is from ChatGPT. And now it's going through and saying, okay, let's look at this. Well, the versions track public events almost exactly reported based off the outlet. Perfect. So it talks about the real events or the facts that happened, and the government response ChatGPT extended into hypothetical legal settlement, which is irrelevant because we don't want that unless you wanted that a part of your case. Right now, we're just looking at which one fits better. So the structured focus. So for 2 cases, it said the Claude one is more in line sort of investigative journalistic, whereas case 2 is legal consultation. Okay. Perspective, the third person narrative is from case 1, which is from Claude, and it's more first person from ChatGPT. Okay. Obviously fact-driven, ending in systematic lessons. Okay, so interpretation, case 1, which is from Claude, is a documentary style case, faithfully recounting the actual events, whereas case 2 is transforms those facts into a law school exercise that extends the scenario with plausible but inventive legal processes. Okay, that can be very concerning. What else? Key deviations. So case 2 is elegant and internally coherent. Who cares? That's using frivolous words. But what's important though is case 2, basically several elements are invented for pedagogical purposes. So that's an important thing to be aware of, meaning there are falsities in case 2. Ethical policies, both correctly emphasize AI hallucination, transparency, disclosure, erosion of trust. However, case 1 grounds these themes in real policy consequences. Senate hearings, public outages. Okay. Case 2 reframes them as internal governance lessons. Okay. So important things to be aware of. Factual accuracy. The winner is case 1. Pedagogy intent, case 2. Real world. Okay. So basically it depends on the intent and the goal of what you're trying to do. So basically I think case 1 fits more in line with what I was thinking in my scenario. But what have we done? We have taken, in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, remember, I'm dialoguing this with you. We have taken a real event that has happened, and we have taken that event and created a factual representation of that event, where instead of having to watch the video with our students, we could give them a case that we could apply the case method to. We can create a case, or we created a case where we can apply different theories and models and methods of analysis to in a matter of minutes. And the question then is, to what end? My understanding intent behind this process is to show you how this can be done with AI, not to oversight the importance of impact and intent. If I wanted this to be a publishable case, I would have to make sure that the process I used AI for and with and how I did that aligns with the truth and integrity of what is expected by the publication place or company that I'm submitting this case to. We're not doing that in this scenario. This scenario is I'm doing it for my class. I'm going to say, hey, here's a live event. Here's a case. Let's work through it and see how the case method applies to this. How could we think through what should have Deloitte done, or what ways could we evaluate this in a operational sense, or in an ethics class or perspective. I don't want to oversight the importance and the wow factor of what we just did. We created, and remember, we haven't read through the case yet. We haven't analyzed it. We've used AI to do analysis, to give us insights. I would think that case 1, which is right here, is more in line with what I'm looking for, but I would still want to read through it. I would still want to make sure it's not too long and it flows well. A great tool you can use to check your writing is writinganalysis.ca. So if you go to writinganalysis.ca, I built this website about 2.5 years ago. It doesn't use AI. It doesn't track your work. When you close the browser, it's gone. But I can just take the case study from Deloitte, upload it, and it will tell me information about the case. Now, it doesn't tell me about the context of the case. It's going to tell me about the writing. Is it easy to understand? Is it hard to understand? So if I scroll down here, it's saying it's mainly academic writing with some creative elements. Okay, it's going to take about 30 minutes to read based off of 5,300 words. If the grade level required is 15, which means it's college level, which makes sense. It's a highly formal case. It's written in passive voice, mainly third person. Okay. The average sentence length is 19.2, which means the sentences are longer and more constructive. And obviously we see here, and just more of the visuals of how this is structured, a lot of compound sentences, much more complex wording, more compound sentences, a lot more articles in words, meaning word distribution. And if we scroll down here, we see word frequency. So AI generated content, which is about the case for Deloitte, AI tools, Deloitte report, professional services. So these are the key phrases that are coming up. And so we can at least start to look at, if the case is written too formally, with too much formality, can we make it less formal? And that's where we have the ability to rewrite it and restructure it. I want to caution I can guarantee that some of you watching your jaws are dropping and how is this right? How is this allowed? And other ones are like, this is amazing. I can see the opportunity. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying this is. This is a process, and my intent behind this process, when I teach this to faculty, to staff, to companies, to students, when I teach them how to do this, the first thing they have to understand is why. What is the goal, and what does that final product represent? That is so important, because if I submitted this and submitted the data and the results and the work, it probably would not get accepted at a publishing place or a publishing house. But let's say it did, and then they start to rework and revise it. Is that true to what I'm promising them in a case? Probably not, based off of how it's been constructed. But it is based off a real company, based off a real problem. It's not me as a primary investigator with a real protagonist. It's not primary research, it's secondary research based off of what's been reported on. So the accessibility of what this is one where we have to be very cautious of what we intend this to be, meaning the case when we are done. In this scenario for my class, I think it's an amazing place to be where I can say, here's a real scenario and I have a case that we can watch or we can read and we can go through and start to analyze it, evaluate it, and dissect what this company did. There are so many ways we can approach this, and I encourage you to rewind and go back to the steps I talked about. And if you're doing any writing with AI, you want to first be able to give detailed context. And that detailed context is the details of a prompt. And you can do that detailed context with the case study generator here, which creates a very detailed prompt for you based off of your 3 inputs. Once you've got that prompt, all you have to do based off the generator is copy and paste it and go to your AI tool of choice, which is all we did here, and we pasted it in. And it wrote a very good case. And what I mean by very good case is it's going to flow. It's going to make sense. It's going to sound authentic, real, interesting, but the type of case is very different. So what ChatGPT wrote was more of a legal processes case with a lot of pedagogy, whereas Claude wrote more of a first account case, which is more real to the facts, more journalistic. Interesting that they chose different approaches from the same detailed prompt. The point I'm making is you can do a lot of different things, and now we can be more current with topics and actually create meaningful insights and tools for our students and activities is something to think of there. Hopefully this got you thinking, and I didn't speak too quick. I know it's going to be a long video. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing. There's a lot of value in thinking through this process and writing cases with the right intent for the end goal you're looking for with AI. There are many ways you can do this, and this is just one way to add value in your classrooms. Hopefully that was helpful. Not too much run on, but like I said, unscripted, probably very evident it was unscripted, but I hope you were able to see the nuggets of value that we need to, that are laden throughout this whole process. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.